By the time the Goonies embarked on an adventure in the summer of 1985, Steven Spielberg was unstoppable. He not only produced some of the biggest blockbusters of the past 10 years, but they had also a broad appeal for various demographics. Spielberg was equipped with the films like Jaws, E.T. and Raiders of the Lost Ark to entice audiences of all ages and leave them satisfied. But consider for a moment how difficult a sell this must have been in pitching the Goonies. You greet the Hollywood executives and sit down across from them and you ready yourself to speak. I want to make a movie that's equal parts coming-of-age drama, monster horror, Indiana Jones-style treasure hunt, and pirate adventure. They inquire, and what's the overall story? With a smile on your face, a real estate deal in a small, unassuming American town. The studio executives smile condescendingly, security shows up, drags you out of the building for wasting their time. However, with Spielberg and Richard Donner on board, they shake your hand you $19 million to make your epic real estate film. According to legend, Spielberg had an epiphany while working on The Color Purple about what kids do on rainy days. What adventures could they possibly plan? He gave Donner and screenwriter Christopher Columbus this seed of an idea, and they developed it into a tale about a group of misfits confronting a future apart. Their neighborhood, the Goondocks, was going to be demolished as a part of a deal to make room for a growing golf resort. That is, until locals Mikey, Mouth, Data, Chunk, and Brand, who go by the pseudonym the Goonies, managed to unearth some long-lost treasure that was formerly the property of a pirate by the name of One-Eyed Willie. However, they were not the only ones searching for the fabled wealth of their sea captain. A dysfunctional Italian mob family that included the infant brother Sloth was kept in chains in a filthy basement lair. Hot on their tails, the race had begun, and friendships would be formed, tested, and triumphed along the way. It grossed 3 times its $19 million budget, finishing with a total box office run of $61 million, making one of the top 10 films of the year, and since then it has become a timeless classic for so many. The film's cult fanbase and the desire of that audience for a long-rumored sequel hasn't dwindled despite being almost 40 years old and having the catchphrases that have been ingrained in cinema.
Goonies never say die!
What's Goonies' secret? How could Donner meld such a jumble of concepts into an adventure whose appeal seemed destined to last forever? The Goonies is a timeless masterpiece and a product of its time at the same time. It retains an international appeal while brilliantly capturing the 1985 American experience. This was achieved by the prevailing characters' cliches of the era while firmly anchoring its characters to the modern era through pop culture allusions. Typically, the first 25 minutes of a movie about searching for a hidden private treasure in booby-trapped caves while evading armed robbers do not take place in a suburban home. However, the slightly more gradual build-up to the peak of adventures was definitely being thought out here. The entire drawn-out action piques the older audience's interest. Mikey and Brand, pre-Thanos Josh Brolin, Walsh's home receives substantial exposition time to give viewers the impression that the Walsh's family is just like their own. It's time for adventure once audiences have been made to feel secure and at home in their idolized version of Arcadia. Teenage fantasies are built off the amazing journey the Goonies take through the caves under Astoria. Between Brand and Andy, Mouth and Steph, and the other characters there is danger, puzzle solving, magnificent machinery, and even a little bit of sexual tension. The size and scope of this movie are astonishing, given the small town setting it starts in and centers on. What the Goonies manages to portray is amazing. The world beneath Astoria seems massive in comparison to the cramped life living on the surface because of the deep holes, the enormous twisting water slide, the enormous pirate ship, and even the beachside shot of the heroes emerging from underground. It does more than merely heighten a sense of wonder and adventure to create this contradiction between the adjacent realms. Being recognized as more than just children helps the Goonies. While the Goonies are battling the Fratellis in a childish manner in the foreground, they are delving into some very serious adult subjects in the background. The affluent land developers who play the main antagonists in the Goonies visit the Walsh home and belittle the children by asking mockingly, "Is your mummy home?" The urge to safeguard their neighborhood from development, something their parents were unable to do, is what spares the Goonies' epic adventure. No attempt is made to make the parents look bad because everyone knows they did their best. Even so, they continue to fight for what they believe in no matter what. Any decade may have been the setting for the Goonies, the methods Data used may have looked different, but the storyline of protecting a house against corporate control will always be appropriate regardless of the era. The Goonies' basic exterior belies its original content. Throughout the 1980s, there were many films with casts of teen heartthrobs or resourceful children. They were both in the Goonies. The two groups were never at odds with one another in the film either. There were sarcastic banter, but never genuine conflict. The younger and older children participated equally in the search for One-Eyed Willie's stolen loot. However, the audience's paradise of the Goonies was built on a shaky foundation that evokes a time when families supposed supposedly had rigid structures, and there was never a dispute that the sheriff would not resolve. As the Goonies move closer and closer to discovering the gold and rescuing their houses, the foundation begins to give way. The grown-ups, from the parents to the Fratellis to the sheriff of Astoria, all fall short of the idyllic standard. The children are the ones with the authority and capacity to act, and they do it effortlessly and with the same humble spirit that was developed from the beginning. Although the treasure hunt seems grandioser, the children's behavior is genuine. This makes it possible to quietly replace the idolized concept of the typical American family with something more meaningful and more grounded in reality. The iconic moment at the base of the wishing well, where Mikey delivers an emotional speech about his parents gave it their all up top, but now, down here, it is their turn to contribute. It is the ideal visual expression of this concept. The Goonies are working assiduously and unobserved to what their parents were unable to, while Troy, the bully, and the grown-ups look down on the children, and as their own parents attempt to overprotect them by forcing them to stay inside during cold weather, the Goonies, and consequently the kids, teens, and adults watching, feel as though their age is irrelevant to the influence they can have because of the grand sense of amazement and the sensation of familiarity and comfort that collide in this scene. The Goonies was fresh and unique, yet it was also undoubtedly contemporary, with references to Janet Jackson, Purple Rain, Gremlins, and Martin Sheen. It firmly established itself in the 1980s. When it first came out in theaters, it was extremely evident that the movie was set in the same era as the audience. It was loaded with the hippest modern illusions. The Goonies simultaneously inspire nostalgia for the more simple time. An idolized 1950s America is evoked by peaceful environment of Arcadia, the rambunctious gang family, and even Mouth's greasier look. This blend of cultural allusions and callbacks is intended to make the viewer fall head over heels for the Goonies, while quietly and non-aggressively undermining the sense of normalcy that makes the film so successful. The Goonies, which swings from genre to genre, feels like 15 completely different films colliding at the same time. The adolescents destroying a statue's penis and then gluing it back on upside down had elements of a teen comedy. Brand and Andy had a romantic relationship. There was also horror, a frozen body, Sloth's realization. There were elements of crime drama, a jailbreak at the beginning, and there was undoubtedly a pirate adventure flavour, the cunning MacGuffin of One-Eyed Willie's treasure. This, in a manner, gives the movie its innocent vibe, the genuine kid-like lens through which it forces the viewer to watch. Both the Goonies and the children do not recognise the genre. It was unrestrained creativity that was representative of the target audience. The relationship between the Goonies remained unchanged despite all these thrilling genre transitions. Although they quarrel and taunt one another, they also encourage one another, giving each member of the group a chance to shine in a pursuit of wealth that wouldn't have been successful without all of them. The group dynamic felt genuine. According to the movie stars, a light-hearted environment existed behind the scenes that contributed to their on-screen chemistry. Because the Goonies did so little of what most other movies do, it is still as powerful today as it was in 1985. The siblings worked together rather than competed. The main love couple were already in a happy relationship and they were not actively seeking one another out. Sloth is introduced to Chunk, who never once criticizes him for how he looks or acts. The children are all as innocent as the idolized time that the Goonies attempts to conjure. It is simple to suspend any credulity that a group of youngsters may save their community because of their quick lovability and accessibility to everyone. It serves as a reminder that even when children are treated unfairly, they frequently suppress the standards that have been set for them. The Goonies opens with a beautiful paradise that never truly existed. The myth is personified in the Fratellis. These gangsters with their 1940s, 1950s feel are led by their mother, who only acts concerned for her family, and the two violently obnoxious siblings Francis and Jake. They become a parody of the average family unit portrayed in popular media as a result. The Goonies leverages nostalgia to impact a timeless lesson. The emphasis is carefully switched back to the present and towards the future, as it draws attention to the foolishness of seeking anything less than what the Goonies symbolizes by creating a yearning for the past only to tear it down. It's possible that nostalgia and pop culture illusions helped the Goonies stick out as an enjoyable family movie during its time. Because of what its characters stand for, it is a classic. They are tenacious, driven children who demonstrate that they are in charge of their own fates, independent of the people in their lives or the cliches that their characters might fall into in another movie. The Goonies finishes with everyone, child and parent alike, feeling they too can make a difference wherever they set their determination to it, because they do so with respect and cute faces. The Goonies is a perfect illusion of how to appeal to nostalgia in a movie while keeping it genuine to the era it was made in. In his recently released Ready Player One, Spielberg tried to evoke the same emotions. In addition to inspiring the 1982 1986 and 1987 video game spin-off The Goonies and The Goonies 2, the movies also gave rise to Cynthia Luper's enormously successful single-track and music video for her song The Goonies Are Good Enough. The majority of the actors, director Richard Donner, and screenwriter Christopher Columbus all launched their long, prosperous careers with this film. There is no doubt that The Goonies' legacy endures. It significantly impacted Stranger Things because it demonstrated how well kids and teens can collaborate to create a dynamic and broadly appealing team. There aren't many films that can compete to The Goonies, but it also made an unmistakable impact. In today's media, there is a tremendous desire to strike the ideal balance between references to current culture and those that serve as historical artifacts. Fortunately, this 1985 classic provides a good example of how to achieve both in a creative way that is also a lot of fun for everyone. Well, that's enough rambling for one day.